Welcome back to Week 14 and the last 2025 IDP Bi-Week Waiver Wire. And we are jumping straight into the secondary this week, starting with our three best deep defensive back targets, beginning with the safety, who has rightfully been flying under the radar. And that deeper DB target for Week 14 is the Chiefs safety Bryan Cook, who, from what we see, is barely rostered. Cook's become a major component of the Kansas City defense this year, and his performance in real life this season has been outstanding. He has earned a higher-end PFF defensive grade of 77.3, which ranks him among the top 10 safeties in the NFL. So while his IDP scoring is inconsistent this season, Cook is actually an excellent real-life defender on the field and logged a respectable 50 combined tackles and 4 passes defense through 12 games. Now, the critical note to mention and follow up with: Cook suffered an ankle sprain, and his status for the Week 14 matchup against the Texans might be questionable. And if Cook is ruled out, pivot immediately to rookie safety Jaden Hicks. Hicks is slated to step into the starting role, and he is not just a replacement. The reports have praised him as an elite tackler in space with high versatility, who is also one of the best IDP prospects in his draft class at one time. But if Cook is active, his defensive talent and the high-action environment against Houston make him the legitimate low-end DB1 target this week. And only if he's out, Hicks then becomes the hot DB waiver wire priority in this matchup, especially when the Texans are consistently ranked on the higher end of allowing production to the safety position, in a game that should be projected to be a shootout. So we will also mention, don't ignore the Chiefs cornerbacks if you need one.
And our next target this week is the Packers' second-year safety, Evan Williams. Williams has established a solid floor for himself this season, already racking up a phenomenal 80 combined tackles through 12 games. This production establishes him as an upper-tier DB1 when he comes to combined tackles. But for those in tackle-heavy leagues, it's worth noting his split. Williams has logged 37 solo tackles and 43 assisted tackles. His high assisted tackle number makes him a solid target in leagues that value assists, but also positions him as a deeper play in solo tackle-heavy scoring systems. And this high-volume consistency is paired with solid playmaking upside, as he also has logged 3 interceptions and 4 passes defense this season. And Williams is trending again. He logged 9 total tackles in their Week 13 win over the Lions, matching his second-highest tackle mark of the 2025 campaign. And over his most recent 3-game hot stretch, Williams has recorded a massive 22 tackles with 2 interceptions. He is an extremely impactful free safety with plenty of box snaps to support the averages. And in Week 14, Williams gets a fantastic home matchup against their divisional rival, the Chicago Bears. The Bears' offense has also opened up the playbook recently, creating high tackle secondary opportunities, which should be a heated, competitive game. Just as the Eagles' free safety Reed Blankenship, Williams' counterpart at safety for Philadelphia, he just recorded 14 combined tackles, 8 solo, 6 assists versus the revamped Bears in Week 13. So we think it's definitely worth a spot check on Williams if you're looking for someone that might be available.
And our final defensive back target is Bengals safety Geno Stone. Stone isn't deep at all, but we see he is still undervalued overall off the waiver wire, and we'll confirm his status as one of the safest DB volume tacklers in the league, averaging a solid 7 combined tackles per game across 12 contests this season, adding in at least 9 playmaking IDP stats, depending on your IDP scoring formats, such as tackles for loss and interceptions. This high floor is what anchors his IDP value, but his upside is explosive. And put simply, Stone is a critical defender for the Bengals defense this year. And in Week 14, Stone gets a home matchup against the high-flying Buffalo Bills. The Bills are currently a top 5 team at allowing production to safeties. Their aggressive offense guarantees the Bengals secondary will be busy and exposed to high tackle counts. And Geno Stone will have ample opportunity to post a high tackle count and make a game-changing turnover. He is an excellent and safe DB1, so it would be best to pick up Stone before you do anyone else this week.
And starting at the deeper end, the Bengals' Demetrius Knight is our deepest linebacker target this week, and his opportunity is absolutely hot in this week's matchup. But this is more of a story of role over talent. And Knight's fantasy value surged a little when Logan Wilson was traded just weeks ago, allowing the Bengals to rebuild their linebacker core around 2 rookies. And noting, Knight has seen his role fluctuate recently, and this fluctuation has caused its snap percentage to slip a little to about 72% on the season. However, he's tallied 13 total tackles and 1 for a loss across the last 2 games. He also logged a key interception against the Ravens in Week 13. But we're not worried about his snaps, especially when he's still producing like a solid LB2 for us. And realistically, on the season, Knight has only really had 1 bad week, and he's managed to lock down 7 solid or better IDP box scores in total, and sprinkled in 3 double-digit combined tackle performances. But the real question is, why trust a rookie with a low PFF grade? And while both Knight and the other rookie starter, Barrett Carter, have poor PFF grades, hovering around a 36, that low grade doesn't matter. And it can even be an advantage when no team will really scheme to avoid either one of them. And, a bonus worth mentioning, the Bengals' defensive line has also struggled all season against the run, guaranteeing more than normal cleanup tackle opportunities for the linebackers to pick up. Add to that the Week 14 matchup versus the Buffalo Bills, who rank in the top 10 in allowing production to linebackers, and you have a slightly deeper high-floor sleeper ready to help win you your matchup. So, if you can, pick up Knight if you need him, and play him as an LB2 with LB1 upside with confidence. But that's only if the other guy, Barrett Carter, isn't available. He's not even nearly as deep anymore, and we figure he's really not available anywhere.
Now, let's move to a little stronger deep linebacker target who has a great floor this weekend. The Texans' Henry To'oTo'o is a very notable linebacker. He is part of a highly complementary linebacker duo alongside veteran Azeez Al-Shaair. He laid his foundation in 2024, where he finished with 105 combined tackles and 1.5 sacks, logging an outstanding 85% of snaps that season. But while he isn't logging a full-time snap rate like Al-Shaair, his season average is close to the 72% due to some weekly fluctuations, he has maintained a solid tackle floor per snap, and his production ceiling is rising. And let's keep in mind, Al-Shaair isn't exactly hogging all the tackles, leaving a few more opportunities for Henry to do the heavy lifting against the run. He's also a favorite draft pick of Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans, and that never hurts, especially when PFF has never given you a really good grade overall in his 3-year career. And most recently, To'oTo'o is playing more effectively in the backfield, not only logging 32 combined tackles, but also adding 4 tackles for loss and 1.5 sacks over his last 5 games. This high-floor production, including his 7 tackles, 1 for a loss, and 1 sack in the win over Buffalo, includes an uptick in the last 2 weeks in snaps to a more comfortable 78%. Plus, his value goes through the roof because of his matchup. The Texans face the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 14, and the Chiefs are currently ranked as a top 10 team at allowing production to linebackers in both tackle and sack-based formats. We have momentum, the matchup, and we think this makes To'oTo'o a must-add LB2 for immediate production with guaranteed upside for an LB1 ceiling. So grab him if you need him, but only if guys like this next linebacker aren't around to pick up first.
Finally, we wrap up with the undisputed must-add, who is fully healthy and ready to dominate the fantasy playoffs. And likely no surprise, the Eagles' Nakobe Dean is your Week 14 must-start waiver wire linebacker. His return to the field is also likely the biggest story of the Eagles' defense. After missing the first part of the season while recovering from a devastating torn patellar tendon suffered in last year's playoffs, Dean is finally healthy and fully unleashed. And this is also perfect timing. After slowly ramping up his usage, Dean has finally averaged around 90% of the defensive snaps over the last 2 games, securing his every down role again. And this increase helped fuel his monster 12-tackle performance against the Bears in Week 13, bringing his total to 17 combined tackles, 1 for a loss, and a sack over those last 2 matchups. And it's not like he wasn't producing per snap before these last 2 matchups. And despite how often he is hurt, Dean has always been a high-floor player with a massive ceiling when he's healthy. And he caps it all off with a top 5 tackle and top 10 sack-based ranked IDP matchups against the Chargers this week. So in our opinion, if you need a top LB1 this week, there is no better setup. Pick up Dean immediately. He is a must-start. Just don't plan on this guy being here the rest of the season. He's really had some bad luck with injuries.
Our first two players and our deepest streamers are the incredible interior defensive line starting duo from the Eagles, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. They are a pure talent play, but they also deliver a reliable floor. Since their Week 9 bye, the two have combined for 37 tackles, 3 for a loss, 1 sack, and 9 passes defended. Jalen Carter is widely recognized as the number 3 interior defensive lineman in the league, playing around 70% of snaps, and should be considered your A target priority add. And his teammate Jordan Davis is the even deeper B target. While Davis rotates and plays around 60% of snaps, his utility stats are explosive. He's already logged a career-high 3 sacks this season, added 5 tackles for a loss, and won an NFC Defensive Player of the Week award. Why trust a defensive tackle as a defensive lineman? The Week 14 matchup is the decisive factor in the scenario. They face the Los Angeles Chargers, who still sit at the very top of the league in allowing fantasy production to interior defensive linemen. This makes them powerful plays in general DL slots and even better in leagues that require a defensive tackle. And the ultimate edge is the Chargers' quarterback uncertainty. Justin Herbert fractured his wrist and had surgery, and the team recently released this statement. Herbert's return to play is considered day-to-day, and his status for the game against Philadelphia will be determined later in the week. And this potentially forces the Chargers into a run-heavy, conservative offense, helping guarantee more volume for this Eagles defensive front. Both Davis and Carter should be excellent starting options even if Herbert plays with a bad wrist. And in deeper formats where you might be desperate, it is not crazy to think about playing both of them. But looking for one, Carter first, and then pick up the high-upside Davis second, and play both with confidence in this strong matchup this week.
Speaking of deep must-start defensive linemen in great matchups, let's move on to our defensive end target, Buccaneers edge rusher Yaya Diaby. Diaby is a high-volume, high-opportunity player. In Week 13 against the Arizona Cardinals, while his tackle numbers remained low, the volume resulted in the high-value plays we want: a sack, a tackle for loss, and a combined 2 tackles. Crucially, Diaby has logged sacks in each of the past 2 games, putting him at 6 on the season with 9 tackles for a loss ahead of this week's home date with the New Orleans Saints. But of course, it's really all about the matchup. This is a prime streaming scenario. The Saints matchup lingers around the top 12 ranking for allowing production to defensive ends, and they are currently starting rookie quarterback Tyler Schaff, and the rookie's expected struggles are evident. The Saints QB has been sacked an alarming 9 times in the last 2 games, 4 in one and 5 in the other, which directly leads to a massive sack opportunity for Diaby. So, if you're managing buys or need high-upside production in a deeper league because no one better is available, Diaby is an absolute must-consider based on his full-time role and this really favorable matchup. So, we have to think this makes him a solid Week 14 DO2 target. Plus, his high-end matchup, he very well could hit a low-end DO1 status when it's all said and done. If you found this advice helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more IDP deep dives, and as always, thanks for watching.
They doubted us every step of the way, but we knew what we were capable of.